Hi, it's Shona Lee at The Art of Yearning. It's been a while since I've been online. I have been doing a lot of things. It's gotten to be autumn, which you can tell because it's cool enough in my house that I put on a sweater. I am sitting on the floor next to my internet connection because that's where I have to be right next to my modem for my internet to work because I live rurally and my internet's a little dodgy. This fall, I am home doing some homeschooling. I am going to Halifax once a week to go and take trapeze and aerial silks lessons. I went to Italy this summer and I went to a conference called Science and Non-Duality that I've been waiting to go to for 4 years, and it was amazing. And I did some ecstatic dance while I was there, so I'm hoping to get to an ecstatic dance workshop in the near future. And so a lot of the last couple of months of my life has been learning to yearn and pay attention to it, because one of the things that I've been finding is that although I have a good intellectual understanding and I can sink into the desire and the embodiment for periods of time and have a pretty good sense of how to do that, staying with it is much more difficult in the face of the daily demands on our time. And so where I'm going with this business is to put together some more courses and programs on how to stay with it. So one of those that I've done in the past and I'm going to rework is about time management, but it's not time management in the traditional sense. I call it the opposite of productivity, time management. And it is learning to carve out those big spaces in our days and say no to things that aren't important and to make things that are really self-nourishing and self-supporting. So it's self-care, but it's not self-care like go and get a pedicure. It's self-care like nourish that core of yourself in a way that you are full and can go out into the world to do your work and make the changes and show up in your relationships from a filled space. So to be able to walk the walk, have had to be doing that work for the last few months. And I had started these videos as sort of an experiment to see what was going to fly and where I really felt myself going with all of this. And then I was realizing that if I'm going to be teaching about it, I've got to be living it. And so I'm living it. I'm going out and doing things that are fun just because they're fun. It's not practical for me. I have 45 years of age to go and take aerial silks classes. I'm no good at it. I'm probably never going to be any good at it, but it's so much fun. And I learned to go on the cyr wheel, which is that great big metal wheel, which you can, I can spin it one rotation. But it's something completely new, and that sense of really playful exploration is really deeply nourishing to me. And that fills me up in a way that I therefore can show up in the world in the face of the relentless news of catastrophe. Let's be honest, there's a relentless news of catastrophe, and if I had to respond to every single catastrophe to show and prove that I was a good person, I would have no time left to do anything but respond to catastrophe and disaster. And I just wanted to take a moment to pause and acknowledge that there is catastrophe in the world day after day after day after day after day. And if we get sucked in and allow ourselves no joy and no pleasure because there's a catastrophe somewhere in the world, we wind up depleted and there's nothing left to respond, and that will keep perpetuating the sadness and the pain. And so in the face of the fact that there are disasters and catastrophes, and there are shootings, and there are terrorist attacks, and there are hurricanes, and there are floods, and there are people starving in the streets, and there are people freezing, depending on what part of the world you are and what time of the year it is, knowing that all those things are true, we still have to fill ourselves, because we cannot cope with the suffering of the world from an empty, depleted well. And so that's where I have been, is refilling my empty and depleted well, so that I have something to bring to you and help you also learn to fill your empty and depleted well, so that you are nourished and can bring healing to the world instead of that reactivity to the pain. So I'm filling myself with circus school, and I'm filling myself with dance, and I'm filling myself with joyful relationships with other people, and I'm filling myself with potluck suppers and food and nourishment. And I would like to invite you to some of those filling and nourishing activities. And so if you want to just say something in the comments below about what it is that's nourishing to you, what fills your well, so that you have that fullness to work forward from. That's something that I think is vitally, vitally important to the work of the world, is to fill yourself and fill the well. So that's me for this week. That's I guess it happens to be a Tuesday tune-up. I'm not going to restrict myself to Tuesdays for the future. I'm going to try and do more video and do it at more erratic times, and be more honest about what my house looks like. This is our homeschooling corner. It needs drywall. It'll get it pretty soon. And it's going to be lovely. And I look forward to talking to you more.